Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Neil.
And we are
Nerds Over 40.
It's Clobberin time.
Episode 5 for the Fantastic Four.
That's correct. So in a moment, we're going to talk all about Fantastic Four, and we're going to talk about the origins first, and then we're going to get into the current movie. So just know that we will give you a spoiler alert before we start talking about the current movie in case you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, if you don't like Fantastic Four, either the movie or the concept, then this is not going to be the episode for you.
Go back and listen to the Superman episode. So anyway, I wanted to share something before we got into Fantastic Four, which is our nerd product of the week. So I'm sure everybody who's on Facebook is used to getting these pop-up ads for things that your algorithm has determined might be of interest to you. And I have ordered things. I've been victim to that a few times, some of which were good and some of which really weren't. So while we were at Comic-Con actually last week, I got an ad for something and I was like, oh, that's intriguing. So it got me. I ordered it. And this is what it is. Oops.
Hey,
sorry, Galactus. So this is a candle. It's made by Dio Candles. The website is diocandlecompany.com. Dio or Dio, it's D-I-O.
This is not a paid advertisement.
It is not a paid advertisement, but if you'd like to advertise, reach out. So anyway, the name of this candle is Video Store. It looks very reminiscent of a video store, which we all were familiar with if you happen to be of a certain age.
I think it's okay for us to say Blockbuster
Blockbuster Video. Looks like Blockbuster Video's
get
logo.
us sued.
No, nobody's suing us. Well, hopefully nobody's suing us.
Not yet.
So the description of this candle intrigued me. So they said that the top notes are butter, carpet fibers, dust, and sugar. The mid notes are popcorn and VHS box, and the base notes are patchouli and sandalwood. I don't particularly care for patchouli, and I was worried it was just going to smell like patchouli. The description of the candle is bring nostalgia into your home with the Video Store candle. This unique fragrance combines distinct aromas of buttery popcorn, plastic VHS tapes, dusty carpet, and hints of candy to evoke the atmosphere of a classic video store. Don't worry about late fees. This candle is yours to keep.
You know,
give us your review, Neil.
I think it smells pretty on the nose. You know, it's pretty good. It's made in Denver, so you know it's coming from God's country. No, it definitely. I think it smells
good. Like a Blockbuster Video.
Yeah.
You definitely get buttered popcorn on the front end.
And you do get that industrial sort of carpet smell. Too.
And kind of the plasticky VHS tape. I think it delivered. I really liked it. So I went on their website today and gave them a review because they sent us a nice note. So anyway, the note was handwritten. I thought that was a nice touch, and when I really like something, I do try to drop them a review. So I did, and I did tell them that we were going to be talking about it on our podcast, and we were going to let our viewers know that this is a very nostalgic product. They do have other scents that are nostalgic. They have one called Bookstore. They have one called Saturday Cartoon Cereal.
Ooh.
They have a Bowling Lanes. They have a concert t-shirt, French fries. And I think the next one I'm going to purchase is called Carnival Night. This scent was, someone wrote in and asked them to make this scent for her. And then it turned out so well that they mass marketed it. So in my review, I suggested they make a Comic-Con scent. And I asked Joyce what Comic-Con smelled like. So she said carpet. I can't remember. I should have pulled the note up. A BO, certainly.
Hot dogs.
I said hot dogs and nachos.
Yeah.
Like sketchy hot dogs and nachos. So anyway, but we'll see if they respond back.
Yeah.
But if you decide... so I was getting to my next candle that I want from them. Carnival Night is supposed to smell like sweet candy apples, cotton candy, earthy dirt, and spicy firework smoke. which sounds kind of intriguing. So
Yeah.
I'm going to order that one next. But I really like this product, so
That's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're not going to review anything that isn't good. If you decide you want to get one for yourself or for a loved one, their website is docandlecompany.com.
Oh, and guys, we've gotten a lot of you reaching out to us offline about things that you wish we'd have put in the podcast. A lot of these podcasts, there's places for you to put comments.
Drop it in the
Add
comments.
it in the comments, because we're not going to go back and reshoot this thing.
We're not Marvel. We don't do post-production.
That's right, we don't do reshoots.
What you get is what you get.
So drop it in the comments. Let's see if we can start some discussion there.
Yeah.
And,
And like and subscribe also.
and then I can tell you how wrong you are about how we didn't actually need that in there.
Yeah, the other feedback I keep getting from everyone is how great Neil is. I'm trying not to take that personally. I've had multiple people saying, yeah, I watched the podcast. Neil is really great.
And
that's
anyone who's tired of Labubu, you can thank Amy for excising about 10 minutes worth of Labubu content.
I did.
from
I
our
edited
last
out a bunch
episode.
of Labubu stuff.
I've
'cause
actually-
it went really long.
I'm trying to ban the use of that word in this household, too. 'cause
Whatever.
I'm sick and tired of just hearing about it.
Whatever.
I mean, it's not a hard and fast ban, but I...
So let's talk about the Fantastic Four.
Oh, are we
which
ready
is,
for that?
Which is not a topic that's been banned. We've
Okay.
done. We do have one other product that we're going to be talking about once we get into Fantastic Four, which was a gift that Neil received today.
Yeah! Early
So-
birthday present from our friends Tony and Davina. We
A
we
very
met them
subtle.
for lunch and went to the movie afterwards, but I was not going to get this for myself because, just for reasons. But it's the perfect gift for someone. It's actually the perfect gift because it's something that I wanted, but I wasn't willing to get for myself. So now I've got it, and it doesn't matter how Amy feels about it.
Amy is fine with it. She thinks it's cool. She just doesn't know where the hell it's going to go in her living room.
Yeah, that's
So,
a good
because this is
question.
not a small item.
I wonder if they'll let me take it to work.
We also did get a post in our group chat while we were at Comic-Con from one of our nerd friends who had gotten one of these. And he took his bed at the hotel and put stuff under the sheets that looked like a body and then put the head of Galactus at the top of it and sent it out to everyone as like a good night message. So that's the kind of thing that you get from your friends at
Oh, and you
Comic-Con.
see the
in the
eyes
group
light
chat.
up too? See that? They're lit, unlit, lit, unlit. Very, very cool.
You should light them again. So,
Are we going to have them all the way through? I guess,
Sure,
I guess
why
I can
not?
replace the batteries. There we go. There's
Yes, by all means, they need to be lit.
Oh, and just early birthday presents. Noah, thank you. I'm very excited to open this.
on your
anyway,
birthday.
Sorry.
Okay, Fantastic Four. Now that Galactus has introduced us. The history of the Fantastic Four, they are a Marvel comic property. The comic debuted in November of 1961 in the Fantastic Four #1. And it was the first superhero team that was created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee together. And it was in answer to DC creating Justice League that Marvel suggested that they get a team together, and this was the team that Kirby and Lee created. And it was very successful right from the jump.
Well, they're known as the first family of Marvel. And Stan Lee was an aspiring author, a writer, and he felt like he was better than comic books, right? Comic books were lower than pulp, right? They were not looked well upon. And what I think is interesting is his birth name was Stanley Lieber. And when he went to work for Marvel, writing for Marvel, he published under his name Stan Lee. Stanley. Yeah, it's not much of a stretch, but because he didn't want to ruin his birth name, which he wanted to publish important stuff under. Of course, he turned out to be so successful at Marvel that he ended up changing his name to Stan Lee. But he was not happy with what they'd been publishing to the time, and his wife encouraged him, write a story that you would want to read. Write the story that you want to write. And that is part of the inspiration for the Fantastic Four.
All right. And I did not read Fantastic Four when I was a kid, but Neil did.
So this is very late in the game, but we're gonna get you a close up of this. This was one of the first comic books I ever bought for myself. It was published in 1983. You know, I was 10 or 11 years old when this came out, and I bought it in a 3-pack, and it kind of blew me away. I just absolutely fell in love with it. And the last panel, which we've got a picture and we can post that too, was my first sight of the Silver Surfer. And that was another one where, like, oh my God, that guy's cool. Who is that? So I've had this comic book for 42 years, give or take. It's not in great shape. It's been read a million times. There's a lot of damage to the spine, but it's still precious to me for those very reasons. But this was sort of the first thing that hooked me into Marvel Comics.
All right. And you have another one to show?
I do have another one. Silver Surfer #1, and guys, I might run off onto all sorts of tangents tonight, but this was a one shot, and this is the kind of origins of the Silver Surfer. Something that's this is sort of the beginning of the end of the Kirby and Lee partnership, because Kirby was not involved with this. Buscema did the art on it, and Norrin Radd is introduced in this comic, and he's made into the Silver Surfer. If you saw the movie, it was Shalabal. Well, that's not how it is in the comics, and I'm kind of bitter about that, but not too, well, whatever. It is what it is. So, anyway, Kirby wanted him to be a cosmic being who's never really been mortal and is kind of learning to be mortal. And if you read the early comics in the Fantastic Four, when he's first introduced, he comes to Earth, and it's Benjamin Grimm's girlfriend, Alicia Masters, sort of starts to bring out this sort of sense of compassion from the Silver Surfer, and that's when he turns on Galactus. Obviously, that's not the story that was in the movie.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
We have a dinner spoiler
The movie
warning
came
yet.
out 10, 12 days ago. If you haven't seen it by now, then I don't know that you deserve it. So, there you are.
Don't be shaming the Nerdmigos, sweetie.
Anyway, but then instead of this kind of pure cosmic being, Stan Lee came up with this backstory for him. As Norrin Radd, he sacrifices himself to save the planet of Zenlaw, and Galactus turns him into his very first herald, the Silver Surfer. First and greatest herald, in my personal opinion, and in his own, too. The heralds, whenever they get together, they always argue about who's the greatest. And it's kind of, egotistical and hilarious, and, they're always fussing about it.
So you don't have Fantastic Four #1.
Oh, God, no. I wish.
So I'm going to, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll throw up an image of that. But they recreated that exact image in the current movie of what they were fighting.
When Mole Man's monster came up in a montage.
Right. All right, so let's talk about the team. So Fantastic Four gained their superpowers after exposure to cosmic rays during a scientific mission to outer space.
Yes.
And the members are Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, and what are the...
Well, at the time it was Susan Storm.
I wanted to go through each one.
Okay.
What are the characteristics of Mr. Fantastic?
Well, he's a genius. He's supposed to be the smartest person in the Marvel Universe. Anyway.
Arguably.
Yeah. They used to have kind of a chart. At one point they put out a chart, and supposedly Peter Parker was as smart as Reed Richards at that age. Whatever.
He's the leader of the group.
Yes,
right?
The leader. He's stretchy, and he makes devices that save the day sometimes.
Yeah, my research said that he can stretch his body into incredible lengths and shapes. Mm-hmm. So he can shape change too.
Well, I mean, not like Mystique. But yeah, he can he can probably turn himself into a box, or like with Elastigirl on the Incredibles, like a parachute or something like that.
Okay. Next is Sue Storm, Invisible Woman. And she started as Reed's girlfriend and later became his wife.
Yep.
And what are her characteristics?
So she can turn invisible. She can turn other items invisible, and she can project kind of invisible force fields.
Right. That's what, and blasts. That's what.
Well, so what she does is she takes like a force field and she projects it, right? So it's like a kinetic sort of
Okay.
thing. She's not. Anyway, never mind. We'll talk about the movie later.
We'll get to the movie in a minute. Next is the Human Torch, Johnny Storm,
Pretty self-explanatory. He's Fari,
Sue's younger brother.
Sue's younger brother. He's very much a ladies' man.
He can generate flames, surround himself with flames, and he can fly.
Yep.
In the movie, he was going through something that was on fire, and he was like pulling the flames off.
Yeah, there was a burning
buildings.
building, and I
that
never saw that in
canon?
the comics, but
Okay.
I mean, I guess that's a possibility, but I never saw that in the comics.
Okay. Next is the Thing, Ben Grimm, and he was Reed's college roommate and friend. He's a former college football star. He is a skilled pilot, and once he became the Thing, he possesses tremendous superhuman strength, durability, and endurance due to his stone-like flesh.
And also, he's funny. I mean, he's the funny one of the at least of the comic book. He was tremendously popular. When they did Marvel Team Up back in the day, it was either The Thing or Spider-Man that they featured alongside of another random Marvel superhero. But Ben Grimm was very popular, probably the most popular solo, not that he did a lot of solo stuff, of the Fantastic Four.
So then we have Franklin, who is the son of Reed Richards and Sue. He's an immensely powerful being with vast reality manipulating and psionic powers beyond most Omega level mutants. This movie was my first introduction to him because I didn't read the comics and the other movies didn't feature him. So this is the first live action movie that featured him.
It's interesting that they're rolling him out too.
Okay.
Because Marvel for a long time operated under this mandate that everything that happened was within 5 years of the Fantastic Four originating, and that was sort of their limitations, and just to kind of keep the stories sort of consistent and to not get too complicated of a timeline. So Franklin was kind of frozen in time. Franklin's kind of future lies more on the mutant side of things than on the Fantastic Four side of things. Like I said, it's been a long, long time since I read it, so I could be well out of things by now, but
okay. So next is Herbie, who I think this is the first time we've seen Herbie in live action. He does general duties around the Baxter building where the Fantastic Four live. And he later on is a guardian and companion for Franklin.
I was thinking that Herbie had to do everything. He's baby proofing the Baxter building.
He's helping cook.
He's doing the cooking. He's and then at one point Ben's like, Herbie, I need you to help me stabilize the ship. It's like Herbie's gonna be thinking, Jesus again?
I want a Herbie.
Yes.
I want a Herbie at home and at work.
We need a Herbie for our tech support.
For sure. So anyway, that's the basis of the team. And they are a loving family. They bicker. They're kind of dysfunctional. One of the things I found in my research, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you've been reading these, is they don't use secret identities. They kind of have a celebrity status instead. And you saw that in the movie, which we'll get to later. And then their recurring encounters, so their nemeses, are Galactus, Doctor Doom, soon to be portrayed by
RDJ.
Ronan the Accuser, who we saw in Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Portrayed by Lee Pace.
Yeah. Annihilus.
So Annihilus,
I don't know who Annihilus
this is where multiverses suck in time travel, because Annihilus is supposedly another name for Kang the Conqueror.
Oh.
And Kang the Conqueror
has been canceled.
Well, but he's not an uncommon. He shows up in Fantastic Four too, as well as Avengers.
Okay, Mole Man, who we saw in the movie.
Yeah.
Namor, who we saw in Black Panther.
Namor's got a crush on Sue Storm too, which is kind of interesting. But
okay, Silver Surfer, and Molecule Man, who I don't know who that is.
Huh. I thought he was more of an Avengers foe, but that's okay.
That's what my list said. I could be wrong.
Well, there's some overlap.
Okay, so we're going to go over somewhat quickly the previous live action portrayals of the Fantastic Four, so we can get into the movie and not go 3 hours long.
That's a distinguished list.
Good luck. So the first portrayal that was released in cinemas, and I'm not going over like cartoons or anything on TV, these are just the movies, was Fantastic Four in 2005, and then with the same cast, Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer in 2007.
What I think is really interesting is that Rise of the Silver Surfer, they were sure that a humanoid Galactus would not work. We'll get to the review in just a minute, but they were wrong.
So the cast was Ian Grufford for Reed Richards, Jessica Alba as Sue Storm, which I didn't think that worked at all, but that's just me. Chris Evans was Johnny Storm, and Michael Chiklis was Ben Grimm. Then in 2015, Miles Teller was Reed Richards, Kate Mara was Sue Storm, Michael B. Jordan was Johnny Storm, and Jamie Bell was Ben Grimm. Other live action portrayals in the MCU, in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which was 2022, John Krasinski was Mr. Fantastic, and there was a lot of buzz that he might end up being the Mr. Fantastic in this recent
That was kind
iteration.
of fan service putting him in there.
Yeah,
we liked wanted him as Mr. Fantastic.
I liked him as Mr. Fantastic.
He was good.
I thought he was really good. And then if you saw last year's Deadpool and Wolverine, Chris Evans showed up again as the Human Torch in a very comedic way, as that entire movie was.
I love Chris Evans. I do. He's one of my favorite MCU actors.
I used to have a coworker who was a Muggle, and she went to see Captain America because her boyfriend was into comic book movies, and she came to work the next day and was talking to me about it. And I'm like, "What did you think of it? That was a great movie." And she goes, "Well, I kept waiting for him to catch fire." And I'm like,
hey, kudos to her for recognizing the same actor.
That's right. So, Randy, if you're watching, that's all you. At least you caught that it was Chris Evans.
Yeah. For a Muggle, that's paying attention. You didn't sleep through them.
So, one of my current coworkers, who is definitely not a Muggle, Ben, I'm calling you out. I was making my notes for this movie at work on Friday, and I was talking to him about what this episode was going to be, and he's like, "Oh no, you're missing one." And I said, "What am I missing?" Because I'm pretty sure we've seen all of these. So I said, "What are we missing?"
Well, actually, we did not go to Fantastic Four 2015 just because
I think we just decided
the
not
buzz
to.
was so bad.
Though I really like Miles Teller.
Miles Teller's awesome.
But yeah. He said, so Ben told me that there was an unreleased Fantastic Four movie that was produced by Roger Corman.
I'd heard about this, but
I had not.
That was about it. I hadn't really.
So we decided to do some research, and there is a documentary about this on Amazon Prime that you can get for free. It's called Doomed, The Untold Story of Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four, and we watched it last night to do our research.
I think the most valuable thing about this is this shows a little bit about how the sausage is made in making movies, because the actors got screwed.
They did.
On this deal. I think Corman and his partner, they made out like bandits, but the actors just... Anyway.
Yeah, it's Eichinger. That was Corman's partner. And he had the rights to Fantastic Four, so they decided to make this movie for $1 million. And then when it came time to release it, the actors were really gung-ho, and they were going out and promoting it, spending their own money to promote it.
Going to Comic-Cons. They went to the San Diego Comic-Con. They went to New York. They went all over the place.
And a Marvel executive at that point decided to purchase the rights to the film, not so they could release it, but because they didn't want it coming out, because they thought it would cheapen the brand, because it was very low. It was a low budget Roger Corman movie.
Well, supposedly Chris Columbus wanted to do a Fantastic Four movie for Fox, right? And they felt like this movie was going to pee in the pool.
Right. And so he purchased the movie and the rights and then ordered all of the prints to be destroyed to prevent its release. However, there are some bootleg copies floating around, and I looked on eBay and there was actually a bootleg copy of it on eBay.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of ordering it just because I'm curious now.
Yeah, yeah.
And we can watch it and maybe do a follow-up on this.
I mean, I'm sure it's terrible, right? It doesn't. I mean,
But I like the actors.
The actors, I
really
really like these actors that were on this show. You know, and they thought that this was their big break, and they got screwed. I mean, Corman and his Eichinger, they made out on this deal.
Eichinger, yes.
They did well on it. They made money, but you've got these actors who are out there spending their own money, you know, trying to promote it, and they're out that money, they're out that time. I mean, a big part of an actor's of the money that they make is in exposure in these films, and they didn't get any of that. So I really feel for those actors, and I really liked them too. Now I don't know whether they're good actors or bad actors because I haven't seen the movie, but as people, I liked them a lot.
Yeah, and so it was supposed to be released in 1994, never was. And then 20th Century Fox went on to produce the 2005 Fantastic Four and the Silver Surfer in 2007. And then in 2019, after Marvel bought Disney, Disney bought Fox. So then Fantastic Four reverted to Marvel.
Yeah.
And now we have the end, which brings us to our current film in the MCU, which is the Fantastic Four First Steps, which we saw at Comic-Con last week with a group of 30 of our friends at an AMC.
Yeah, we're not real sure on the final count of that, but it was around 30, maybe more.
I bought
maybe
at least
less.
34 tickets.
Yeah, but some people bought their own.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I made everybody a set of Fantastic Four friendship bracelets, which I am currently modeling. So there is Mr. Fantastic. I have the Human Torch, Invisible Woman, the Thing, and then a Fantastic Four bracelet also. And then I gave everybody a grab bag that had themed candy. So it had yellow rock candy that looked like the Thing. I had Laffy Taffy for Mr. Fantastic. I had some clear mints for the Invisible Woman. And then I had Red Hots for the Human Torch.
Yeah.
So everybody who came got a grab bag from me, not from the AMC.
Yeah, AMC, come on.
So we went to see it with our friends. We did take a group photo with everybody at the end of it, and it was really fun. But for me, it was a little bit hectic because whenever I put these group get-togethers together, I'm focusing on that, more on that and less on the movie. So we went to see it again today with our friends Tony and Davina, and I was able to focus a little bit more. So first, spoilers. There are now going to be spoilers. We're talking about this movie in detail.
If you're spoiled by this, it's your own fault.
Stop being so judgy.
Nobody else to blame.
Stop being so judgy. So anyway, let's talk about the team now. So the MCU Fantastic Four team. So Mr. Fantastic is played by
Pedro Pascal,
who basically is playing everything. What else is he in?
Oh, Jesus. What isn't he in? The Mandalorian, which fortunately his face is covered for most of that. He's a handsome man, but fortunately for us, because it's not a little bit less exposure.
The Last of Us, which we both really like.
Yes, though we're not going to see him in that going forward.
Spoilers again.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 1984, which is an absolutely terrible movie.
It's best if we not speak of that.
Yes.
They got Wonder Woman and the 1980s wrong at the same time.
Everything about that movie was wrong. Yeah. James Gunn, please redeem Wonder Woman. Please. That's my plea to you.
Kingsman, The Golden Circle. I think he played, was it tequila or was it?
Yeah, he was like in cowboy boots.
I think he wasn't. He wasn't tequila. I think he was bourbon. They had all the Americans. I don't remember what they called them.
They weren't the Kingsmen.
They were based. They were based on like a distillery, right? So each one of them had a different liquor. I can't remember which one he
other
was.
things he was in, Narcos, which we didn't watch, but is supposedly very good, and also Game of Thrones, which we didn't watch because Neil read the books and hated them, so he said we weren't watching the series.
Oh, Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I quit reading before they even had a series. It's funny, I had a boss years ago. She knew I was a nerd, and she's like, "Oh, have you been watching Game of Thrones?" I'm like, "No, I'm not watching it. The books were crappy, man." I gave up on the books 10 years before the show came out.
All right, so next is who played Invisible Woman?
Oh, I'm sorry for those of you who liked it. I try not to do that, but anyway.
Vanessa Kirby played Invisible Woman.
She was fantastic. I thought she gave the best performance of anyone in the movie today.
So she was in The Crown. She played, I believe, Princess Margaret in The Crown. She was in one of the Mission Impossible movies, Fallout, and Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw. So I hadn't seen any of those, so I didn't recognize her.
This was a big step up for her.
Galactus is played by Ralph Ineson. I didn't recognize him, but I did research him. He is a British actor, and he's done a lot of video game voices. So he did a voice for Final Fantasy. He did a voice for Diablo. He did a voice for another video game called The Waylanders that I'm not familiar with. But anyway, you were talking about whether a live action person could play Galactus. So what was your take on that?
Oh, well, or at least not necessarily live action, but that you could do a humanoid Galactus, right? Because in the Rise of the Silver Surfer, they had Galactus was just sort of a weird planet-eating cloud, right? The most dramatic scene, and it was in the previews, but it's in the movie, is when you see the shadow cast by Galactus over New York City.
It was creepy.
That is an awesome, awesome scene.
Yeah.
And it's legit. He didn't look silly. I thought they did it. Of course, I have drunk the Kool-Aid. So maybe people who aren't into comic books might think it looked silly, but I didn't think it looked silly at all.
I thought it looked good. I thought it was very effective. So next is Shala Ball, Silver Surfer, and she's played by Julia Garner. She was in Ozark, which we haven't watched, but she was in Inventing Anna. And did that weird accent that Anna Delvey.
Oh, that was her.
That was her.
Okay.
So I kept expecting the Silver Surfer to sound like that because I saw her and I'm like, oh, that was.
She's a fine actress. I'm not happy with the gender swap.
The first thing Neil said to me when he was watching it is like he hated her hair.
Her hair looks stupid. I mean, it's like Lego click-on hair, you know? I mean,
yeah, it's kind of swooped up and it doesn't move.
If you're going to give her hair, then make it like hair
that moves
right?
when she's surfing.
It's so stupid looking. And then, well, it should have been Norn Rad anyway. They're just, I don't want to be too negative on the whole thing because I think there's a lot of people who are negative just for the sake of being negative.
Or for the sake of a female whatever.
Yeah, but I mean,
and that's not why you're objecting to it.
I've been in love with this character for 40 years. And I also think that some of the themes, alienation, being an outsider, I just think they spoke very much to me as a young male, who felt like an outsider. And anyway, I thought the action sequences with the Silver Surfer were amazing.
The surfing scenes
I've got
were
no
very
problem
good.
with her acting. I also think there's a little bit of a cheat code because then they could skip the whole Alicia Masters bit and just put the relationship between her and Johnny Storm, right?
Mole Man was played by Paul Walter Hauser. He was in Cobra Kai. He was also in Inside Out 2. He played Embarrassment. And he is in the upcoming Naked Gun movie, which I have a feeling I'm getting dragged to. So, do you have anything to say on him? I
liked him. He only really had a very brief speaking scene, but he owned that scene when he was in it.
Yeah, he was kind of funny and,
he came in and he's surrounded by all these Fantastic Four and he was funny. He was the best person in the room at that point.
I thought the scene that they showed where he was underground, what is Subterranea. I thought that was very effective. I thought it was cool looking.
He's got a sense of humor, which is a little different from the comic book Mole Man. Well, actually, it's a lot different from the comic book Mole Man. but yeah, he was very funny. That joke about, please wipe your feet off. Oh, I'm just kidding. It's all dirt down here.
Yeah.
That was funny. I got a chuckle out of it.
Yeah.
Twice.
So John Malkovich played Red Ghost. And those of you who have seen the movie are probably saying, what the hell? John Malkovich wasn't in that movie. Oh, yes, he was. But he wound up on the cutting room floor. So I watched for that today. And in the montage at the beginning of the movie where they're showing them kind of becoming superheroes, there is a scene with one of his apes that alludes to Red Ghost.
Yeah, Reed kicks him into the ocean.
Yeah. But it was cut from the film because there were too many characters and a whole other universe to introduce, so they decided it was too much backstory to bring him in.
So, just for a little bit of background, Galactus was introduced in Fantastic Four number 48. They released these magazines once a month, or at least that's what they did back then. It was once a month, so do the math. It wasn't until 1965 that Galactus showed up. So that's 4 years of kind of a rogues gallery, and they tried to squeeze that into some montages. Of course, this guy didn't quite make the cut. But one thing I thought of while I'm watching this is this all, at least the original Marvel stuff, happened before we even got to the moon, before Apollo 11. This is the Apollo program is happening while they're writing the Fantastic Four. So it's kind of cool to see them sort of projecting this stuff, that's ahead of where we are in real life. And I think it kind of reflects a more optimistic, perspective too.
All right. Other notable appearances, Natasha Lyonne, who is fabulous in everything she's in, and I think we talked about her last episode from Comic-Con.
Yeah.
She played Rachel Rosman, who appeared to be a love interest for the Thing.
She was wasted in this. Now, it looks like they're going to have another Fantastic Four movie sometime in the future, because somehow they've got to get him into the 616 universe.
And we saw that from the Thunderbolts, where at the end of the Thunderbolts, the post-credit scene is their ship coming into the atmosphere of our Earth. The Earth that this movie took place in is
the 828.
828, which is...
That's Jack Kirby's birthday. So he was born August 28th, 1917.
Right. So that's why they called it
Earth 828. That was a Jack Kirby
homage
tribute
to him. Yeah. So anyway, Mark Gatiss was in it. He played Ted Gilbert, who was a TV show host who kept showing them.
I want to circle back to Natasha Lyonne. Did I say that she was wasted in that role?
You did.
Okay, good. All right, we can go forward now.
So Mark Gatiss. So if you don't know Mark Gatiss, he is affiliated with both Doctor Who and Sherlock. We wound up at Comic-Con through my Sherlock
Connections.
We got into Sherlock. I created a Facebook group for Benedict Cumberbatch. We ended up going to London to see him on the stage in Hamlet. But Mark Gatiss is one of the creators and writers of Sherlock and also played Mycroft in Sherlock.
That's right. Sherlock and Mycroft's parents were awful people for naming them Sherlock and Mycroft.
Played by Benedict Cumberbatch's parents in the show Sherlock, his actual
Who are
parents.
fine people.
But anyway, I digress because you got me going on Sherlock. But Mark, as soon as he showed up on screen, I'm like, that's Mark Gatiss. And again, why?
And a lot of Doctor Who fans love him too.
Yes. So Sarah Niles plays Lynn Nichols. She's an ally of the Fantastic Four, and she is CEO of the Future Foundation, which my Invisible Woman is affiliated with. But who is Sarah Niles?
She's also Dr. Fieldstone from
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. So.
Yeah, and we love her. And as soon as she showed up, Neil was like, is that? And I'm like, yes, it is. And then the film was directed by Matt Shakman, who also directed WandaVision, which is one of our favorite MCU properties. He also directed its many episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Fargo, the TV series, and some Game of Thrones. So let's talk about the film a little bit now that we've introduced the players. So as I stated, this is the first MCU Fantastic Four property. It is also the first film in Phase 6 of the MCU. It generally has been gotten positive reviews, both from
Yeah,
critics.
I don't know what the Rotten Tomatoes is on it.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I
both
think
from
it's...
critics and viewers. As we stated, it's set in Earth 828. The year is 1960 when it starts, and Fantastic Four is setting off on a mission to outer space. That's when they got exposed to cosmic rays and got their superpowers. On returning to Earth, they become the superhero team known as the Fantastic Four. And then it kind of jumps to 4 years later. They show a montage of what they've been doing. And they're fighting supervillains. They have become celebrities. Reed's inventions have progressed technology. Sue's diplomacy via the Future Foundation has led to global demilitarization and peace. And then they discover, spoilers, that they are expecting.
Did you notice what country did not have representatives at that?
I saw but I didn't really
That's
click.
Latveria. Who rules Latveria? Dr. Doom.
Oh, okay. See, that meant something to the comic book reader in the group. So anyway, they discover they're expecting and end up having the baby in a very weird way in the movie.
If you're going to have a baby, 0G seems okay, I guess. Though you don't get the gravity assist.
It seemed very clean to me.
Oh, yeah. Can you... Oh.
It seemed like there'd be stuff
sounds
like
awful.
floating around,
Yeah.
and it was just like her pants flew off, and then the baby came out. And
Watch
there
out for that placenta!
Yeah, there was no nastiness going on, and I'm like, that doesn't seem.
Yeah, that was the cleanest childbirth you've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I've never given birth myself, but I'm familiar enough with the procedure.
I'm given to understand that they come out kind of messy.
Yeah, and it was not messy. So anyway, they have the baby. Silver Surfer comes to Earth, Shalabal, and declares that the planet has been marked for destruction by Galactus, which I think happened in Rise of the Silver Surfer also, right?
Yeah. Silver Surfer is his herald, right? The person who goes before him sort of prepares the way.
Yeah, I mean, it seems interesting that they're just like, I'm coming to give you a heads up that somebody's coming to eat your planet. Like,
well, he's also I'm definitely in a...
She, whatever.
And she's also a scout. Right, and she picks out the planets, and unfortunately, a lot of the planets that are tasty to Galactus they bear life. And now in the comics, they talk about how kind of Silver Surfer sort of goes back and forth, who tries to avoid planets with intelligence. So I liked the aesthetic of the movie. I thought it was beautiful, apart from Shalabal's hair. Or Silver Surfer's hair, whatever. I have trouble calling it Silver Surfer because, reasons. But the whole aesthetic, the mid-century modern, the commitment to that aesthetic.
Even like the robot. The robot mid-century modern.
And the ship was the ship was launched, and I'm still kind of like chewing on this movie, right? And you see the launch of the ship, and I'm like, oh my god! I kept thinking this shows it's indulgent, right? This is Marvel indulging. They're, because of the multiverse, which I've got my own problems with, but because of the multiverse, they're able to go back and they're able to introduce us to the Fantastic Four as they were in the comics, truly in the comics. And at that point, I was like, this is such a treat. We don't have to kind of try and bring them into the modern world, and lose kind of the cool imagery.
The mid-century
imagery, the Kirby. We don't have to lose all that. And I'm thinking,
I think that's a good point.
I'm thinking, if you're not familiar with the Fantastic Four at all, this is a great introduction to it, except for the Silver Surfer's hair. But and at that point I was just like, this is. It was at that point I was like, you know what, I really like this movie. All the other concerns, and I do have concerns about how they're going to fit this in with the rest of the Marvel universe. I think it's going to be challenging. I hope it doesn't come out too artificial. I don't know if I've mentioned this in previous broadcasts, but I hate the multiverse. I think it lends itself to lazy writing. Time travel sucks. I've certainly mentioned that before.
So is Janeway, but I digress.
The Flash can't do it right. Only Superman's ever done it right, I think. Arguably in Endgame they did it right. But the funny thing is, digression, the directors and the writers of Endgame can't agree on how time travel works. It's hilarious. You watch the Russo brothers talk about it. You watch Marcus and McFeely talk about it, and the two pairs have completely different visions for how time travel works. Anyway, so back on topic. But the thing I really loved about the movie is just the way it's shot. It's just that image with Galactus over New York City.
I thought Galactus was scary. I thought they did a good job making Galactus scary.
Yeah. Now that leads me to, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm dominating the oxygen.
This is your lane here. Stay in it. Go for it.
But Galactus and the Silver Surfer, to a certain extent, are really underpowered in this movie. There is no way that Sue Storm, Susan Richards, is able to budge Galactus at all. As a matter of fact, usually when they're fighting Galactus, he doesn't even pay attention to him. He has lackeys that he sicks on them. And just getting past those lackeys is tough enough.
I remember you said that after our first viewing, and I thought maybe it's like the mother whose baby is in danger and can like lift a car. Maybe she got overpowered because she was trying to save her baby.
Well, that's the convention, but here's the thing is that Galactus isn't like a car that she's lifting up. He's like a skyscraper, and humans are consistently, he doesn't even notice humans most of the time in the comics because we're just too inconsequential to him. It's like us noticing ants. We just don't notice them, unless they're bugging us, right? So that was, and then the Silver Surfer also, just by himself, he'd give the Fantastic Four all sorts of hell. There's not a ship built that can really juke him. I'm sorry, I'm on him. Juke her. Well, we're talking about the comic book Silver Surfer, but anyway, they were underpowered compared to their comic book counterparts, and that does make the story a little bit more interesting, I suppose, because and also just something else too is that I hear Galactus referred to as a bad guy a lot of the time. Galactus is a force of nature. He's no more a bad guy than like a volcano is a bad guy.
Well, why did he want the baby?
Well, so he wanted. They don't really talk to end his hunger, and how does he end his hunger? He dies. His existence. He lives kind of a tortured existence. He doesn't. In the comics, he doesn't want to devour planets. He doesn't enjoy, but his hunger drives him where he has to. I mean, it's almost like he's an addict or something.
Or a vampire.
Sure.
Okay.
But also, he's a force of nature. He was the last survivor of the previous reality. I won't go all the way into his backstory. I've got that Fantastic Four issue, though, that does.
We can pull it out. It's currently on our bed upstairs. Somebody got all his comic books out, and they exploded all over our bed today.
They didn't explode. They're still in the boxes. But anyway, so apart from Galactus being underpowered, and the Silver Surfer being underpowered, and the Silver Surfer being a woman and having awful, awful hair, just give her regular hair.
For those of you who keep talking about how great Neil is on these podcasts, remember that he's mentioned her hair at least 12 times now. Anyway, go on. I digress.
If you take only one thing away from this podcast, right? The Silver Surfer, the hair was stupid. Just make her bald. If you're going to...
Sweetie,
just make her
move
bald.
on.
Okay, so that takes us to...
So we were just getting your take on the movie.
Okay.
What you liked, what you didn't like. You thought Natasha Lyonne was...
wasted.
Underutilized.
She is a... I don't know.
I'm hoping as they're teeing her up for the next episode.
Could be.
That they're going to give her a bigger part. Because there's so much she can do.
They should have made her Alicia Masters. Or what would have been really cool is keep the Silver Surfer male, make her Frankie Ray, who's a love interest to Johnny Storm, but then becomes a herald to Galactus known as Nova. And she's cool as hell, too. That would have been much cooler than what they did. Because... I really like her as an actress, and she's had this tiny little bit part. I don't know why she even took it, but anyway, here we are.
So, if you had to recommend to the Nerdmigos whether they should see the movie or not, what would you say?
Okay, so I've spent a lot of time on stuff that I wasn't really happy about. Overall, I think this is a really fine movie. I give it at least a B+, maybe an A-. Just take it as its own thing, standalone thing, because I also have concerns about how they're going to incorporate that to the rest of the Marvel Universe, which I've said that at least once before.
So let's talk about the post-credits scene. Because it's already been announced that the Fantastic Four is going to be in Avengers Doomsday. So what happened in the post-credits scene? It's 4 years later now, so Franklin is no longer a baby. He's a 4-year-old. And Sue Storm is reading Origin of Species, Charles Darwin's Origin of Species to him,
reading.
because that's his favorite book. So obviously he's genius level like his father.
Yeah.
So she's in the other room getting the book to go in and
She's
read
getting
to
a
him.
different book, though.
Yeah, because she can't. She says, "I'm not reading this to him. We read it yesterday. I'm going to read him something lighter today."
Dude, how would you like to read the Origin of Species to your kid?
So she's
my mom. The Hobbit was hard enough, right? Lord of the Rings, she drew the line.
right. So Franklin is in the living room, and the living room has one of those cool like 60s conversation pit sofas, and it has one of those hanging pendulum 60s fireplaces. So you don't see him, but Sue sees something that disturbs her, and she pulls out her force field power. One of her hands starts glowing with the force field, and she kind of creeps around the fireplace, and sitting there with Franklin is
Doctor Doom.
Dr. Doom, and he had his mask off. He had taken his mask off, but he has his hood up, so you can't see him because they probably didn't want to pay for Robert Downey Jr. to do a cameo in this
I've got
thing.
a little bit of a problem with him having his mask off, too.
Okay.
I mean, it's like, so some of you are familiar with Judge Dredd, right? And in the first Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone, people were ticked off because Judge Dredd never takes his helmet off. The second version with Carl Urban as Judge Dredd, he keeps the helmet on the whole time. It's also a much better movie, too. But same thing with Doctor Doom is his face is hideously scarred, and he is an egomaniac because when he was younger, he was super handsome, and his mom was a witch, and she had her soul claimed by
Mephisto,
yes! One of the few times Mephisto's the right answer.
Yeah, if you were a WandaVision viewer, we were all waiting for Mephisto to show up, and he never did, and we were pissed.
So many streamers were...
And also in Agatha.
Yeah, so many people were pissed. Of course, then they rolled him out in Ironheart, which, whatever.
And he was played by Borat. The guy who played Borat, yeah.
Oh, God. Feige, call me. You need help. Anyway. So, where was I?
You were talking about Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom.
And shouldn't have his mask off.
He tries to rescue his mother from Mephisto, and he ends up, there's this mystical accident, and his face is hideously scarred. And that's when he puts on the mask, and he never takes that mask off because he's super vain, too, right? And he can't deal with...
But if you're going to all the trouble of bringing back RDJ into the MCU, you want to show that it's RDJ and not just anybody in a mask. Not that they showed his face.
So I think RDJ's got enough personality where he doesn't have to show his face. And
I think they're going to show it.
Oh, yeah, they're going to show it.
That's like...
Because actors have to show their faces.
Well, it's kind of like in The Mandalorian.
You've got
Pedro Pascal, and the whole thing about The Mandalorian, and Tony, you can give me notes after this about what I get wrong about The Mandalorian, but they're not supposed to take their helmets off, right?
Well, he takes it off. He takes it off like... It wasn't until the third season or something that he showed
But then he started taking it off all the time. He had it off a lot.
Once you've had a taste of fresh air, it's hard to give it up, right?
Yeah, it probably smells bad in that helmet.
But gamey.
But if you've got Pedro Pascal, you're going to have him take the helmet off. I mean, Spider-Man takes his hood off all the time.
That drives me nuts too, because Peter Parker, the thing he's most jealous of is his secret identity. In the comics, I mean, he doesn't show his face to anyone in the comics. I mean, even Johnny Storm, they're friends, they're buddies. He doesn't show his face to Johnny Storm. There's an episode where he has to borrow a uniform from the Fantastic Four, and he puts a paper bag over his head on his way home to protect his secret identity. And Johnny Storm also tapes a "Kick Me" sign on the back. It's a funny episode. Yes.
So Dr. Doom is sitting on the couch talking to Franklin, and Franklin was actually touching his face. I noticed that in this episode. He was reaching for his face. So he's holding the mask in one hand, the hood's up so you can't see who it is, and Franklin is reaching out towards his face. I don't know how to take that. And
Yeah.
the last post-credit scene was a clip from the Fantastic Four cartoon that looked like it was back from what, 70s,
Yeah,
80s?
yeah, in the 70s, I think.
And it in the cartoon, the Thing says his line,
It's
which
clobbering
is
time.
"It's clobbering time," and they did allude to that in the film.
This is a funny moment.
Yeah. So anyway, Johnny Storm forced him to say "It's clobbering time."
Well, for those of you who are longtime Fantastic Four readers and you know the story of Galactus, and I think a lot of Marvel readers know that story. It's one of the biggest storylines in the history of Marvel. I think you have to let some things go, that it's not going to go precisely according to the comics. Like, I kept waiting for the Watcher to show up. Because in the comics, the Watcher actually shows up and tries to hide the Earth from Doctor Doom, or not Doctor Doom, from Galactus. And he kind of warns Reed Richards. So not to get too hung up on the comics, you're not going to get exactly a comic accurate representation. And I think it's why I enjoyed it better more the second time than the first time, because I'd given up that this isn't going to be like the comics. Just let him go. You don't see the Watcher. And for those of you who are longtime Marvel fans, and the Galactus story is one of the most celebrated in Marvel history. The Watcher is actually, I think, the person who gives Earth the first heads up that there's something coming. He cloaks the Earth in fire to try and disguise it so the Silver Surfer doesn't notice it. And the Silver Surfer does notice it. And then during the battle against Galactus, the Watcher directs the Fantastic Four they steal a weapon from Galactus, and they use that to kind of extort him to leave the Earth alone. And that's how they end up defeating him in the comics. That obviously doesn't happen in this version. I think this version is pretty good once you let all that go. And that's something that we've got to do. In some of the comics, it's easier than others, because if you read the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity War series, honestly, I thought the endings were I thought they were pretty terrible. I'm going to be square with you. There were some great concepts in there, but the execution was not very good. So I thought that the MCU version was better than the comic book version. Thanos, I just can't see him as a farmer. I'm sorry.
So that's your take from someone who read the comics.
Yeah.
I didn't read the comics. So Fantastic Four were never really a property that I followed. It was something that my first exposure to them were some very mediocre movies, like Rise of the Silver Surfer, those. I wasn't blown away by either of those. I certainly thought this one was better.
No one was blown away in a good way by those movies.
Correct. So this one certainly I thought was better. Visually, it's definitely my vibe. I really like that whole mid-century vibe. I wanted the car. I wanted the house. I wanted the robot.
Flying cars anyway.
Yeah. So I like that. As far as the actors go, I don't think that Pedro Pascal needs to be the lead in every property. I would have preferred John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. I really liked him in Multiverse of Madness, and I thought that I'm not an aficionado of Mr. Fantastic, but he seemed to be a good one to me. I would have preferred him to Pedro Pascal. Not that I don't like Pedro Pascal. I really like The Last of Us and some of the other properties he's in. But for me, I would have cast John Krasinski over him.
I don't think John Krasinski wanted it.
Probably not. But I'm just saying, if I had my druthers, that's the way I would have gone.
I mean, personally, I thought one of the things that made the first few phases of Marvel really successful is that they went with lesser known actors.
Right.
I mean, Chris Evans wasn't terribly well known. Robert Downey Jr. was well known, but not necessarily for good reasons.
Yeah, he was infamous.
Chris Hemsworth was not well known. As a matter of fact, they took some heat for casting some no names, but I think that ended up being a strength rather than a weakness of the franchise. And going out after, my first thought on Eternals that made me nervous was they got Angelina Jolie. I mean, that's a mega star right there, and I don't know that that's the best choice for these movies.
And that was a terrible movie. But anyway.
But Pedro Pascal, I like him. I thought he was a good Mr. Fantastic. I don't think he probably was the best Mr. Fantastic necessarily, but he did the job.
Okay. So let me finish my review.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. You got to do yours. Let me do mine. I liked some of the lesser players. I liked the Mole Man. I thought he was cool. I'm not as invested in the gender or look of the Silver Surfer as you are. So I thought she was fine. I actually liked the surfing scenes. I thought those were
Those were
cool.
amazing.
I
Yeah.
thought her interaction with Johnny Storm was interesting. I thought that was good. There's a point where he's going for Galactus and she intervenes and kind of knocks him to the side with her surfboard that I thought looked pretty cool. I thought all the scenes with her like flying around on her surfboard were kind of cool looking.
They were great. They really improved on Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
I thought they and CGI has come a long way since then, but it was cool. It reminded me of the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. I was like, oh my God, that's what web swinging is like. And I saw that, I was like, that's what surfing the cosmos is like.
Yeah, I thought the scene where Galactus landed in New York and was kind of stepping on buildings and knocking things over. I always say that, there's a couple of cities that always end up getting destroyed in movies. New York City is one of them, San Francisco is another, and London is another. And I think and sometimes Paris. I think that cities that are recognizable or the cities that they use to have like, okay, the X-Men are going to come and pick up the Golden Gate Bridge and smack somebody in the face with it. Or, in Star Trek, we're going to land like a, starship in the middle of San Francisco and wipe out like part of San Francisco. New York's another one of those cities that tends to take a beating in movies. So, that happening with Galactus stepping all over. And I'm like, okay, that felt somewhat familiar. It felt like it had been done before in other movies. But I liked it. So for me, I would give the movie a B. I would recommend it. I thought it's a good time. It's definitely like a matinee. Go get some popcorn with your family and your kids or your friends and go see it. Was it transformative for me as far as the MCU goes? No, there have been other...
Well, it can't be transformative because they're going to be rolling them into the 616 universe.
Yeah, it's world building. It's world building right now, and that's what's happening as they're starting this new phase. They're building towards the next Avengers movies. So if you look at it from that perspective, I think it certainly did its job, and I thought it was entertaining.
And for those of you who aren't Marvel fans, I think that this is a great kind of introduction. Just like Superman reminded me of the first time I read comics, because I was like, what is this stuff that's going on? And it's kind of the same way in the Fantastic Four, that you're being dropped into that universe. And I think and you don't have to be familiar with the Fantastic Four to know where it's picking up, because it kind of brings you up to speed just all by itself.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our review. If you have seen it or you go see it after this, drop us a comment and tell us what you think. Give us your grade of the movie and whether you would recommend it or not. And maybe some things we missed that you really liked about it or you really disliked about it. Throw it down there and we'll discuss. Next week, we were kind of toying with what we were going to do. And my friend Ben at work, shout out to him. He said if this really takes off, he wants to produce this podcast. And we would love to have a producer. So hopefully that will happen. So, I know. I'd like to hand that off. Neil is the talent and I'm the everything else.
Well, that's what happens when you're a control enthusiast.
Apparently. But anyway, Ben suggested we do a summer wrap-up, which I kind of like, and talk about summer movies, summer properties that came out in 2025, and then maybe some, what are some of our favorite summer movies that have come out just over the years.
And summer movies, I think those are the ones that had the biggest impact on us growing up, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think some of the blockbusters came out during the summer. I think E.T. was one. We won't get too deep.
Return of the Jedi, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that next week. And then also some movies that are kind of set in summertime, summer camp or at the beach or whatever. So we're going to talk about that. So it's going to be kind of our summer wrap-up episode next week. So please tune in for that. We'd love to see you again. And in the meantime, thanks for tuning in again.
Yeah. Adios, nerdmigos.
And live long and prosper.